When she said I don't dance now, I make money moves, that was a mission statement for a whole new generation.
Respect, but that's not the Mount Rushmore. Listen, cash rules everything around me. When that line dropped, it changed the whole hustle. The greatest tracks are never finished. They're just debated forever. Introducing the Sprite Living Track List. 50 tracks that shape the culture from 6 decades of hip-hop. Scan the QR code on a Sprite or Sprite Zero Sugar to see the full breakdown. Obey your thirst. Sprite.
Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, thank you for tuning in, making us a part of your Saturday morning. Alex, fall camp is here, finally.
We made it!
Utah starts Monday.
Yes.
BYU starts, we don't really know.
Believe Wednesday.
Wednesday's the rumor.
Believe Wednesday.
Not quite official.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's Wednesday.
But here we go, man. Here we go.
BYU and Utah get underway next week. And this is going to be a really, really fun football season for both of the teams. I think there's a ton of storylines to keep an eye on. Obviously, I think Utah is the more interesting camp team as far as, their BYU, you know what you have, right? You're returning your head coach. You're returning the quarterback.
Yes.
When you're doing that, most years, you know what you're going to have. Utah, you've got a completely new head coach at the helm. And I know Scalley's been there as the defensive coordinator, coach in waiting, yada, yada, yada. But nevertheless, losing Kyle Whittingham after 21 years, you're going to look a lot different.
Yeah.
I don't care how much of a Utah man Morgan Scalley is. He's going to make changes. And that could be a good thing, right? So I think that's why I say that Utah is the more interesting camp team. That doesn't mean I'm not saying Utah is going to be better than BYU. I'm not coming out and making that statement right now. I'm just saying as far as the August storylines, I think Utah's a little more interesting. And they start Monday. So let's start with them. A little bit of a camp preview. Our guy Steve Bartle obviously put out an article, KSLSports.com. You can go read that, but you look at Utah and what they're returning and what they have. Kevin McGivern is the OC, bringing him in. There's a lot of excitement there, but you got to start with Devin Dampier and Bird Ficklin. Both of your quarterbacks are coming back, and that's going to be electric.
Yes, and obviously you presume it's going to be a healthy Devin Dampier, right? The major storyline following him last season and throughout the course of the year was the fact that he was playing through injury. He's playing a little bit banged up. Now there was that surgery he had off season. Now you presume, right, it is going to be a fully 100% Devin Dampier heading into fall camp and heading into the season. And I'm curious to see how that looks. If that's what Devin Dampier looked, banged up, whether it was 70%, 80%, whatever he was at.
Yeah.
What does a fully healthy 100% Devin Dampier look like? And the big question, right, was the ball's downfield. A little bit of the situations where trying to go deep, some of the throws that he struggled with, can that now be added to his game and make him one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12?
And he definitely is one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the Big 12.
Yes.
I mean, you look at the talent. Like last year, there was a ton of talent in the conference as far as quarterbacks goes. You look at Josh Hoover, Sawyer Robinson, Brendan Sorsby. Mm-hmm. A lot of those guys have moved on, transferred out of the conference to bigger and better programs, or are not eligible to play because they broke some rules.
Yeah.
But you look at this year, and it's like Noah Fafita obviously has been at Arizona for what feels like forever.
Yes.
But it's like Devin Dampier is really experienced now. And honestly, Bear Bachmeier, we'll talk about BYU in a second, but that's a big get for the Cougs as well. So Dampier coming in, year 3 for him as a starter, his first year without Jason Beck as his offensive coordinator, and it's his second year at Utah. Again, you mentioned the health. That is the thing that seemingly held him back last year. There was an ankle injury. There was a sports hernia. So we'll see if he, what McGivern does to kind of take advantage of that. But I'm honestly interested to see how they utilize Bird Ficklin, because that's a dude that you can't just leave on the bench. That's a dude that Michigan tried to bring in, and Utah felt like he was a priority to hold on to. It's not very often that you see a team make it a priority to hold on to their backup quarterback when they for sure have Devin Dampier coming back this year, and he could even have another year of eligibility after that.
Yeah.
So the fact that they made it a priority to keep Bird Ficklin, keep him from following Kyle Whittingham to Michigan, that tells me that they have some big plans for Bird Ficklin.
And I wonder how much, his role, what ultimately his role will be. We saw him come in we saw him start that Colorado game, and I thought he looked tremendous. Anytime he would come in and, line up at quarterback, it felt like he was always destined to make a big run. And, you have to take advantage of that, especially after this guy, you had Ron McBride, the former Utah head coach, sitting in this very chair and talking about how, you had to fight off Whittingham in Michigan to try to take him. So to put that faith in Bird Ficklin, to put that much emphasis on making sure that you can hold on to Bird Ficklin, I wonder how his role evolves into this next season. Absolutely. And how much they utilize him, whether he lines up on the outside, whether he lines up at quarterback. We saw the interchange where Devin Dampier was lining up and at quarterback, and Bird Ficklin was out at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. You'd see Devin Dampier lined up outside. And so I wonder if those trick packages continue to be a big part of this Utah offense.
Oh, they have to, because that's the interesting part about this is they are not bringing back Bird Ficklin to have a quarterback battle.
No.
There's no QB battle at Utah. Devin Dampier is the quarterback, the starting quarterback.
Absolutely.
But Bird Ficklin is such a dynamic offensive weapon that you have to bring him back, because you mentioned that Colorado game. What do you have? 3 touchdown runs of 50+ yards?
Yes.
Like that's special. That's something that you don't just stumble upon every day. And when you find that in college football, you need to hold on to that, because he was a big part of the reason why Utah's offense was so explosive last year. So I can't wait to see what that two-headed monster looks like. Defensively, I think a big key is going to be the defensive line, and then just gaining more depth and experience. I know John Henry Daly is a huge loss, but they're bringing back a lot of these guys that were true freshmen last year.
Yep. A lot of the young guys, and a lot of young guys through the portal as well for that defensive line.
And you hope that shores it up.
Yeah.
Because that obviously run defense fell apart the last 2 games of the year. They got shredded by Kansas State. That was such a terrible game.
It was.
And you look at why,
it was, but it ended up being fun.
Yeah, it was a fun game, and Utah won.
Yeah, the comeback and the energy at Rice Eccles, that ended up being a super fun game. But I think in a more perfect world, you would like that to not be as close as it was.
You're not giving up.
And you're not giving up
300 yards on the ground.
What felt like 500 yards before halftime.
It really did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, the Utah Utes, when Morgan Scalley first took over for Kyle Whittingham, I was kind of questioning, like, we'll see how it goes. I honestly wasn't super confident just because there was such a big unknown. Mm-hmm. But after the dust settled, and after they kind of finalized their roster and the rest of the staff around Scalley, and again, bringing in Kevin McGivern, I think that's a huge get. And Pagan from Utah State, they're excited about him. And now you kind of feel like this is the new era of Utah football, obviously. So we'll see if Morgan Scalley can make a splash in year 1. But I am curious to see just how his first camp goes.
I think one of the biggest questions for me coming out of fall camp is going to be the defensive line, of course, right? It is still a young and inexperienced defensive line, and they need that to be better than it was at the end of the season last season. And then we've heard it a couple times now through the course of the offseason, Morgan Scalley talking about how this is the best wide receiver unit he's had since his time at Utah. And can they live up to that hype? The wide receiver has been a question mark for Utah the last couple of years. It's been a position that everyone's always talking about, and the We talked about it last season, right? They didn't necessarily feel like they have a deep threat, a deep guy. Do they have that this season? We'll find out.
Let's take a break. I'm gonna call an audible. We're gonna break now and talk BYU on the other side. I don't want to just give 3 or 4 minutes to BYU.
Right.
So we will give BYU their due time.
Absolutely. They both deserve their due time.
So let's take a break. We'll hit the Cougs on the other side. Stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Welcome into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles. Just spent the last segment doing kind of a training camp preview for the Utah Utes. Camp gets underway for Utah on Monday. Meanwhile, BYU, rumor has it. See what I did there?
Nice.
Good job.
Nice.
Rumor has it, BYU starting camp on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything official.
Still waiting for the email to come down.
Still waiting for the email. But it sounds like the Cougs are starting things up on Wednesday. We mentioned some questions that Utah has to answer, right? How are they going to look under Morgan Scalley instead of Kyle Whittingham? How is Kevin McGivern going to change the offense? How is Devin Dampier going to look when he's healthy? How is Bird Ficklin going to factor into the offense? BYU still has questions, but there's a lot less, really. All they lost was Jay Hill. I mean, they lost some players too, right? They lost some talent.
Let's not disrespect Jack Kelly here.
That defensive unit is going to be a major question.
Yes.
Like, they lose Jack Kelly, but they add Kedu Luave.
Right.
So the big thing is, can Kelly Poppinga take over that defense from Jay Hill? Can that transition go smoothly? Because if that's a yes, Jack Kelly's a superstar, but frankly, I mean, you've got studs all over the defense. I think it matters more who's calling it.
Yeah. It feels like no matter what, they're in a good spot because of the talent that they do return, plus the talent that you've added to that defense, right? You mentioned Uluave, and everybody's really, really high on this guy. And they have talent just all around that defense. Really, really stacked, experienced defensive line, really experienced linebacker room, really great safety room. Faletau Satuala, right, had that injury. He's expected to be A-okay, though, by the time the season starts up. Doesn't sound like it was as serious, but it sounds like he will be ready to roll. And, I mean, just having him in that safety room makes it awesome. You have talent all over this defense. Similarly, though, to what we're talking to Morgan Scalley, Kelly Poppinga is going to want to put his stamp on that defense, right? So I'm curious to see what changes, how different it looks like with Kelly Poppinga leading the helm. However, I don't expect it to deviate too much because you still have Kalani Sitake, who's a big, brain as a part of that defensive scheme for BYU. You still have Gary Anderson, who's a big brain and a part of that scheme, right, for BYU, and as well as Kelly Poppinga learning this quote Whittingham defense.
Yeah,
that everybody in this state has now learned. So,
well, and I think that's a good way to put it, is what can K-pop do to put his own stamp on it? I mean, that is a really good way to put it, because you look at what Jay Hill did as far as bringing his guys up from Weber State, and Jack Kelly was one of those guys, and you look at how much that defense was centered around Jack Kelly last year. I mean, we heard it as much from, I believe it was one of their defensive linemen was talking about it at media days, I think, that's the reason why we didn't see any defensive linemen getting sacks, is because their job was to hold up.
Yes, it was Tanavasa.
It was Tanavasa. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was him or a defensive end, but he was saying basically the defensive line's job was to hold up the blockers so Jack Kelly could get a free run at the quarterback. Hence, Jack Kelly leading the team in sacks last year because he was a superstar. He was a really, really good player. You're not going to have that every year. So what does K-pop do next year to get Tanavasa and Kirkland and some of these other defensive linemen involved? and then let the linebackers do their thing, elsewhere. So I am really interested to see what the defense looks like, because Penn State doesn't come calling Kalani Sitake if that BYU defense does not make the jump that it did 2 years ago.
Yes, and to go with that, right? To go hand in hand with that, it's about the evolution of that BYU defense that has led to the conversation that we're having about BYU today, and the fact that they are contenders for the Big 12. They are contenders to potentially make it to the college football playoff. They are contenders in every which way of the word, and it all comes with the evolution of the defense and the stamp that Jay Hill, Gary Anderson, and Kalani Sitake have been able to the transformation that they've been able to make with that BYU defense. It all coincides. It's all intertwined together, and a big person who was a part of that, watching that all develop, watching that all grow, watching that all come together, is the new defensive coordinator, Kelly Poppinga. So again, he's been there, he's learned, he's taken that all in through as this BYU defense has developed. Now it's time for him to put his own touch, his own stamp onto it, and I'm excited to see how it looks, man. Having the riches of talent that you have on defense, I'm sure makes his life a lot easier.
Yeah, you bring up Satswala, man. He definitely has a chance to be one of the best defensive players in the entire conference next year.
Oh, no doubt.
He's a star.
Absolutely.
He's gonna be a monster for BYU and at the next level as well.
And I feel like not enough people are talking about Glasgow either.
Glasgow's great.
I don't think Glasgow had anywhere near the season that I think he wanted to last season. And I'm excited to see what the next steps of his development look like too, alongside now Kato Luave.
Offensively, I mentioned that they bring back Bear Bachmeier and Kalani Sitake, quarterback head coach. As long as you do that, you're going to find yourself in a good spot. It's hard to go backwards when you do that and return that duo.
Yeah.
LJ Martin, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, stud. The problem is the receiver room, right? You lose Chase Roberts. Parker Kingston is no longer with the team because of other circumstances. And now all of a sudden your receiver, who was it? Retired. Cody Hagan.
Yeah.
Medically retired.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden you're looking at a barren wide receiver room, and it's not like there are a lot of options of, we've seen flashes from this guy. He's probably going to step in and be wide receiver one. Right now, looking at this room, we have no idea what that's going to look like. JoJo Phillips had a ton of hype going into last year. He missed a ton of time due to injury, and when he came back, he was a disappointment. So It's not like you look at JoJo Phillips being kind of the most experienced in this group and pointing to him saying, okay, he's the bona fide leader of this room. He hasn't proven that yet. Now, he's certainly talented. There's no doubt about that. That's why there was so much hype last year. But as it sits right now, this wide receiver room is completely wide open, to the point that we could see freshmen come in like Legend Glasgow or the Pula twins come in and make an immediate impact. So we will see.
Oh man, everybody keep an eye on Legend Glasgow. Shouts Lehigh High School. Legend Glasgow is incredible. Watched him his sophomore year, his junior year, and his last year, his senior year.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal football player. Phenomenal wide receiver. Speedy. Love that guy. Legend Glasgow. It sounds like people down there are high on Legend. I wouldn't be surprised if he has. I wouldn't be surprised if he has some sort of role, even as a true freshman, with the wide receiver room being where it is right now for BYU. Keep an eye on Legend Glasgow, man. It sounds like a lot of people, from what Mitch was saying yesterday on Scotty and the Coach, man, it sounds like people are high on Legend.
Well, and he might have to make an impact.
Yeah. Also, I mean, you have to look at guys like Tay Nakua, who's the redshirt sophomore, and what steps does he take in his development. You have to look at a player like Tiger Bachmeier, who is now entering his senior season. And of course, big questions have to be asked of the receivers that they brought in, the transfer receiver, right, and Kyler Casper, the Oregon guy. And where does he land in all this?
Again, a bunch of unknowns. So I'd say outside of Jay Hill's departure and what that defense looks like, I mean, that is the biggest question for BYU is honestly, if they don't compete for a Big 12 championship, I don't think it's going to be because of the defense. I think it's going to be because they can't get anything out of this wide receiver room. Worst case scenario. So that's where,
Even
A-Rod's going to have to pull some tricks out of his sleeve and figure
Right.
something out. Because last year, having Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston made a ton of plays too, and Carson Ryan when he was called upon, like those were three dudes that it's a big hole to replace.
If you can even get by with, with average, with decent wide receiver play, you still feel confident in this BYU offense because of the running ability of LJ Martin, because of the running ability of Bear Bachmeier.
Yeah.
And if the passing game, if the throwing game isn't working for Bear, you have a big, massive safety blanket and probably the best running back in the Big 12. That is LJ Martin. Now, dealt with some bumps and bruises last season, right? Still was able to pull off the offensive player of the year. Can he repeat that with what, again, you presume will be a healthier year for LJ Martin?
And we'll see how big of an impact Walker Lyons plays too.
Everybody's high on that tight end room. It's something that hasn't really been talked about a lot this offseason, I feel like, for BYU, but everybody's really high on the tight end room. Last season, right, Carson Ryan was the leader in that room, and you saw the connection that Bear Bachmeier and Carson Ryan had. Who's going to replace Carson Ryan? Well, you bring in two transfers that I think have all the potential in the world in Walker Lyons and Roger Salepeaga, one coming from USC, one coming from Oregon, and those two guys I think can stand out and have have a big breakout season similar to what you saw Carson Ryan do last season with that connection of and Bear Bachmeier.
It's going to be such a fun season. Ben brought this up the other day, but we kind of brought it up with Utah. It's so nice to not have a quarterback controversy this summer.
Yeah.
We know who the starting quarterbacks for both teams are going into the season, and that's not something we've been able to say for the past several years because of Cam Rising's injury or, Jaron Hall graduates, who takes over after that, or, well, I guess they brought in Keaton Slovis after Jaron Hall, but after that, it was, was it going to be Jake Retzloff? Was it going to be Bear Bachmeier last year? It's exhausting kind of going through that cycle every summer. And so this year, it's very nice to sit back and not just look at, but honestly admire the talent that they have. It's such a good feeling to know that both of these teams have a quality starting quarterback going into the season. That is, I don't know if BYU and Utah fans kind of appreciate that. Maybe they do. I don't know, but
I feel like
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I feel like they do. You see the love for Bear Bachmeier all the time on social media. You see the love for Bear Bachmeier after that that post of him, singing at that, what was it? Some charity event? I don't know what it was exactly, but
just
people,
the concert.
Yeah, the concert, whatever it was. People absolutely loved it. Great down to earth guy, and then of course you have Devin Dampier, who is a phenomenal interview. Always seems to be. To bring a light into the room, always seems to be one of the happiest dudes in the room. Also, seems like a genuinely great guy. And so you have two really great quarterbacks leading both of these programs here in the state.
Let's take a break, Alex. We're saving some time for this final segment because we got to talk about Whit at Big Ten Media Days. First off, that is another storyline. I mean, we talk about BYU and Utah, and for as important as those are, frankly, Whittingham at Michigan is going to be a story. And there are a lot of local fans who don't want it to be, but it is because he was here for so long. And his fingerprints are all over both BYU and Utah. Of course, he brought Jay Hill in, so that impacts BYU directly. Whittingham spoke at Big Ten Media Days the other day, and he made some waves with some of his comments. So I want to talk about Whittingham next. I'm not going to do a preview for Michigan. I don't care about that. But I do want to talk about Whit a little bit before we wrap the show. So we'll get to that next. Stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up another week of the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza. Alex Napoles here alongside me. taking you through another week of sports. We touched on a lot today. It was a big week.
Yeah, a lot happened.
Nothing happened.
A lot
until
happened, but
yesterday.
but nothing happened. That's how it works. With the late Friday news dumps. I'm really, really curious to see what happens with the Protect College Sports Act. I am so tired of not being able to talk about the actual football of things.
Yeah.
We're so focused and dialed in on the legislations, the bills, the injunctions, the lawsuits, because it's a mess. Dan Hurley, the head coach of the Yukon Huskies, put it out yesterday, and he said college sports is an absolute poop emoji show, and I couldn't agree more.
Well, he's right for once.
And I'm really, really hoping that this new bill is the last one we get to talk about. And it brings finally some sort of stability. Now,
I hate to burst your bubble.
I know.
But that's not quite how this seems to be working.
I know. I hope that, again, this just brings in some sort of stability, some much needed stability to college sports. Not just college football, but college sports in general. That is the hope with this bill.
Yeah.
And people will always find loopholes. People will always find how to, make it past the guardrails. And so, we'll see. But again, as we mentioned it at the top of the show, when we were talking about all this, it after everything's voted for on what everybody presumes and hopes is Monday, the college landscape can look a lot different than it does right now on Saturday at 11:48.
Could be, but there's still a lot of people that have to say yes. And again, I would be shocked if that happens Monday. Maybe it does, and maybe I'm the one with egg on my face. But
either way, it has to happen before Friday,
right? Because
that's when they go on recess,
right?
Yeah.
So that we should know for certain by Friday, essentially by next Saturday show, if the Protect College Sports Act is going to come in and essentially have real teeth. Yeah. So we will see.
A lot of things in that bill that are. Again, provisions, guardrails to try to make the college landscape better. There's the Lane Kiffin rule, which we didn't even talk about poaching coaches, right? And stealing away coaches. There's the Lane Kiffin rule. There's the antitrust exemptions, which is a lot of lawyer jargon that I don't want to talk about on a sports radio station, but here we are.
Everybody's going to become legal experts within the next week.
Yeah, so there's a lot of provisions and a lot of things on there that again I think can be helpful for college sports and to bring some sort of stability that everybody's wanting for. But one of the bigger things too that I'm excited about is the eligibility and the transfer exemption. Right, you get one free transfer and that's it.
Real quick before we wrap, I wanted to get to some sound from Kyle Whittingham at Big Ten Media Days. He made some waves online talking about the Ohio State rivalry. We'll play this first clip talking about the Ohio State rivalry and his thoughts on that, and then that will set up the second clip.
Well, I'm certainly aware of it. It's it's the biggest rivalry in the country, and in our opinion, it's something that is in the back of my mind every single day. But I am old school, and I believe in taking them one game at a time. And we got 11 games to play before we get to that game, and so we can't obsess over it, at least not just yet. But I can tell you right now, there'd be nothing more fitting and nothing better than if that game came down to who was going to win the Big Ten championship. That would be awesome.
Not going to obsess over it.
It's a very Kyle Whittingham answer.
It is, but
1 week at a time.
It's funny because you look at how aggravating he was to BYU fans. As far as not ever mentioning the school, the team down south, and all that stuff.
Refusing to say Bear Bachmeier.
You know that he thinks about them all the time, for better and for worse, right? So it is funny to continue to put on this face. Oh yeah, I'm not going to think about it the entire season. But it would be cool if the Big Ten championship comes down to that. So
to be fair, it would be absolutely awesome. If that was
it would be cool.
Yeah,
it would be exciting.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then he continued to make waves talking about his relationship with Ryan Day, and the word hate is a key word here.
I don't know what that dynamic was. I know that I thought Ryan was a pretty good guy when I met with him, or not met with him, but interacted with him in the Rose Bowl. And based on what, again, Urban has told me about him, and I just think that a rivalry can be intense and emotional without the hatred factor of it. I don't think there's any place for that personally. I think Ryan Day's a good person, and to sit here and say I hate Ryan Day, I'd be making crap up, because that's not true.
And that one caused the controversy and the stir online.
I get where he's coming from, but you know how many Michigan fans hated to hear that? Notice how I use the word hate?
Oh, yeah.
Because they hate Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, not only that, for some reason, he ended up stirring up both fan bases.
Right.
Like, it made both Ohio State and Michigan fans upset.
Ohio State fans felt offended that they're not taking up enough space in Kyle Whittingham's head.
Yeah.
Which, again, that's part of what Whit is really good at, is aggravating the other fan base. So we still have an entire college football season before we get to that final week, right?
The game.
I honestly think this is all, Whit knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that this is, no offense to the Holy War, he knows this is the biggest rivalry in the country.
Yes. And I mean, he said in that first clip.
He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get underneath his rival's skin, whether it's the players or the fan base. He knows what to say to rile. The most aggravating thing would not be for him to get up there and be like, oh, I hate Ohio State, bleep them, bleep Ryan Day. I want to go out and kick the crap out of them, you know? That doesn't piss Ohio State off.
No.
No, the most frustrating thing is to not pay them any mind.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to rile them up, and he knows that.
I did like and I did enjoy the reaction you saw online from both fan bases, and a lot of overreaction from the fans up there in Ann Arbor, saying that Kyle Whittingham's in over his head. He doesn't understand
Not built for
Michigan, not built for Michigan, which is so silly. I know you want to aggravate. I know you want to, rile up everybody and say, yeah, I hate Ryan Day and he sucks, and but it's just not the Kyle Whittingham way.
It's not. No, he definitely has a place in his heart for rivalries.
Right.
And he is one of the most competitive people on this entire planet.
But he's not going to say he hates Ryan Day. Again, as you said, to make crap up.
You are a fool if you think that Kyle Whittingham is not thinking about that game.
Mm-hmm.
But he also knows how to make it a show. And this is the first part of that.
Absolutely.
By not paying them any mind at the end of July, that makes Ohio State fans a little upset. I think that's going to be
and churlish.
I think that's going to be a really fun game.
At Karen for Darren in the YouTube comments, you can't spell Buckeyes without BYU.
Is that true?
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, technically.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Don't tell Whit.
I love that.
Coming up the rest of the day on the station, we've got a busy day as always. Real Salt Lake at St. Louis FC. That's going to be on the 97.5 signal. 5:30 pregame there, 6:30 first kick. Then on the 1280 side, you're going to have the Salt Lake Bees at the Sugarland Space Cowboys. That is a 5:50 p.m. pregame, 6:05 first pitch. Tomorrow, you're going to have the Utah Royals at home taking on the Portland Thorns. That will be on 97.5 with a 4:30 pregame, 5 p.m. kick. JP Chunga on the call, as always. And then the Bees tomorrow, final game of the Sugarland series. It's a 5:20 p.m. pregame, 5:35 first pitch. That will be on 1280. Alex, going to be a busy show next week.
Absolutely. Again, we'll wait to see what happens with all this legislation and all these bills, and we're excited to talk about it next week.
Any other free agency news? Oh, we've got an NFL preseason game on Thursday.
And we have a preseason game. Let's go!
That is one more thing that we will be able to talk about. Can't wait for next week's show. Big thanks to Parker today producing. Thanks to you, Alex, and I'm Christian. We'll catch you next week. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The snack wrap plus Caesar sauce equals extra crispy chicken Caesary greatness. Sounds delicious. Caesar sauce at McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.